Oh, hey, look at that. We're live. Hey, everybody. All right, let's get my messages on there. So, Zini, hello. Doris, hello. I'm going to say welcome. I don't think I've ever seen your name before. So, I'm going to say hi. How are you doing this evening? And we're going to get right into getting everybody fed because these goldfish are driving me crazy. They've been splashing water on the floor while I've been standing here. Unfortunately, we do have a outed light. If you see the light on the floor there, that's the one that used to be in the back of this tank. If you'll remember, I've been talking about wanting to put a switch on the forward light so I could turn it off when I wanted to. Well, I finally got around to doing that. And when I pulled the light off to put the switch on, I realized that there was no light in the back of the tank. So I don't know how long the rear light has been out, but the rear light is out on this tank. So I took the one that I had put a switch on and I moved it to the back. And now I have to go buy another one to put on the front. And of course, well, I guess I could put the other one on the back and then put the switched one on the front like I intended. And then that way I can keep the forward light turned out and it'll keep the glass, a little cleaner. And I do have to say, ever since I have started my increased amount of feeding for the koi, trying to grow them out a little bit, thicken them up, they have really, really sprouted. They have put on a significant amount of size since I've been doing that. So I think I need to go back to just feeding them the flake food every day. Maybe finding a balance where they don't start getting thin in the middle because they were looking a little thin. But now they're starting to look a little portly and are getting downright huge. So I'm going to have to do something about that. At some point, they're not going to be able to live in this tank anymore. Koi do get rather big eventually, as many of you probably already know. And so at some point, I'm going to have to dig out that pond out back or donate them to somebody. I really don't want to donate them. I really like this koi a lot. I would love to be able to move them to a permanent location out in the yard. It's just that my little pond out there now is more of a water feature than an actual pond. Shirley, my girly. Laura. Dave, how are you? Let's see if I'm missing anybody. Seeing a bunch of new names tonight. Well, 2 new names. I guess that's kind of a bunch. Old Fashioned Whiskey, how are you? Oh, nice. Tanapomas are a really cool fish. I really loved mine. New hat, hello. All right. I am caught up on the comments there. I didn't have time to really prepare anything weed-wise before I came in here tonight, so I'm just going to start the evening with a plain old regular run-of-the-mill bong hit out of a slightly soiled bong. It's not super dirty, but it ain't perfectly clean either. All right, we'll start off the evening with just a little baby bird hit so I don't choke myself to death here. Well, that's a little baby bird hit by my standards. All right, I have been working on a water change this evening, and we are almost finished. I'm going to be sitting down tomorrow, probably if I get around to it, and shooting a video in front of that tank. And I want it to be all nice and spiffy clean and sharp looking. And I was going to do that on the live stream this evening, but I had time to kill earlier and I was bored, so I just got started on it. And now we are actually finishing it up. So let me get the pond light turned off so you have less glare. And I'm also keeping my eye on this tank because it's almost finished and I don't want to overflow it. Let me see. For the goldfish, we're going to throw some sinking pellets in there for them. Calm down there, everybody. All right, got about another minute for the tank to finish filling. Craig, how are you? Mel. Oh, thank you, Dade. PB&J's and ice cold milk. Can't go wrong with that. How are you doing this evening, Steve? I was thinking about you today. I was wondering if you wanted to get together this weekend. It looks like it's going to be another nice weekend. I didn't know if you were busy or not. I hadn't heard from you this week. But if you're up for doing something and hanging out, I'd be up for it. And we are coming around the bend on that tank, so I don't want to get too distracted, but at the same time, let me try to get a little of this off the glass. This stuff grows back so fast. I swear I could do this every day and there would still be growth on that glass. All right, and I'm going to call that good on the tank. When the water was draining, I noticed it just looked like it was really going slow. It almost looked like it wasn't draining anymore, like it had stopped. And so when I went in the bathroom to pick the drain off the floor to start filling it back up, I saw that the water had stopped. It wasn't running at all. And that can only mean one thing. And that is my Siamese algae eater had swum up into the thing and basically went nose first into the top of the gravel vac and plugged it. That's happened before. And when I checked, that sure enough, it happened again tonight. And so I reversed the water flow. And as soon as the water was blowing, going into the tank, the stupid Siamese algae eater wasn't just letting the water push him back out of the tube. He kept swimming like he was trying to swim upstream and just kept swimming into the trying to swim further up into the gravel vac. So eventually what I had to do was pull the gravel vac up completely out of the water and just let all the water drain out of it. And it just washed him out back into the tank. And then I was able to put put it back in and let it continue filling. But he would not come out of that damn tube. He wasn't stuck in it anymore. When I reversed the water flow, it was no longer the suction holding his face in there. It was trying to push him out. But as soon as he was into the main body of the plastic, sleeve, he just kept trying to swim against the current that was flowing in and just would not swim out of the damn thing. So a little bit of a minor emergency, but we got it taken care of. All right. Good to see you too, Craig. How are you doing this evening? Or morning already? You already said you're home and smashed. It's not even noon. That's nice. Good way to spend a Saturday. Let's see. My fancy goldfish are getting big enough that they are going to need to go into a new tank here pretty soon. I need to upgrade. I just can't afford it right now. Oh, good to hear it, Craig. What, Mel? Sunday you'll be free. Nice. I'm not sure what sponges you're asking about, Craig. I'm assuming you mean the melamine sponges. That's not actually what I used on the glass. I just used a little cut square of the filter material, the poly fill type material, the batting. But the melamine sponges work very well, if that's what you're asking. Schmutz is a girl. She laid eggs. Nice. Michael, how are you? Doing good, doing good. Nice. Stoned is always the good way to be. I'm doing all right, Michael. Thanks for asking. As far as how is everything, I can't really speak to that, but I'm doing okay. Got the wife at work. Nice. My diamond tetras are doing pretty good. All right, let's see. What was I going to comment on? I saw one comment here I was going to comment on. Oh, right. The melamine sponges. I think this is what you thought I was using is one of these little guys, which is actually the melamine sponge. What I was using was just a little square cut piece of batting. But these sponges do work really well. And if you purchase them, you will usually get them. If you buy the brand name, they're called Magic Eraser. Um, I'm not sure of the brand. I think it's like Johnson and Johnson or Scrubbing Bubbles or something like that. And they come as the Magic Eraser, and it's these full size foam pads. And I just use a razor knife, and I just cut them. I do one slice down the middle, and then I just actually slice it this way. Put two more slices down it, and so I get 6 of these little pads out of each one of these little sponges, and they work really well. They're made out of melamine, and before anybody says that melamine's toxic and all that stuff, it is in its liquid form. Once it's in its crystalline form, which is what these sponges are, it is not toxic. It's fact, it's inert. And so being inert, it's not reactive to pretty much anything. So it's non-toxic, it's non-reactive, but it is a very, very brittle material. So even though it feels like a soft sponge down on like a microscopic level, it's like a super, super fine abrasive. It also is microporous. And so not only does it really scrape the glass clean really well, it also holds on to what it scrapes. And so it reduces the amount of algae you're spreading around the tank. Obviously, when you're wiping the glass down in the water, you're going to be spreading some of the algae around the tank. But with the little pads and stuff, or especially like a razor blade, you're literally just scraping it into the water column. Whereas with those melamine sponges, it really hangs on to a lot of it and pulls a lot of it out of the tank with it, thereby reducing how much you. Oh, look, we got a dead spot in my. Let's see. I don't know where this comes from, but this whole end piece here. Look, you can see how that's, well, you can't really see it because the light's not on. Hang on. It's backlit. So you see how that's sort of yellow and it goes into that sort of dead shriveled end. That dead shriveled end is growing out of the tank, I believe. Let's see, where does that go? Yeah. So this is the other end of it that I just broke it off of. And if we follow that all the way around, do you see this piece here? That's the beginning of it. This is the end of it here. It goes down on the floor and all the way around. But that comes and starts right there. We see them a couple of little leaves and that little tiny bit of root. Well, that little tiny bit of root that's hanging off of there is all that's left because the fish in here eat the shit out of that root. And so how this is even still alive with no roots in the water, I don't know. But we just lost this whole entire end piece. I'm going to have to throw that somewhere to get it to stay alive. So we'll start by doing that. And we'll figure out something to do with this end too. But let me get it onto the floor at least now, so I'm not tripping over it. All right. So it's probably dead because of me walking on it and stepping on it and whatnot over the months. And eventually it's just that spot and it's died. Maybe I set the tripod on it too often. Who knows? I try to avoid walking on it. I try to step over it, but I don't always. I do often step on it, so that might be what happened. Oh, I got another dead spot and another one over here too. I bet I've stepped on that one too many times. Let's see where this one comes from and goes to. That's just, oh man, this is a completely detached dead piece altogether. It was already lying on the ground, so we can just cut that off. So I've got that much of it that's still just alive. It feels kind of rubbery, so it hasn't been alive for, it hasn't had fresh, nutrients and water for a while. So it is a little on the soft side, but I'm sure if I break this off at one of these points and then threw that in the tank, that'll probably start growing too. And then I'll just throw these couple little yellowy dead pieces away. Now, obviously, it's not going to grow roots in that tank for aforementioned reasons. But for now, I can get some water into that system, and then I'll do something with it later. I got so much fucking pothos plant. I may as well just throw it in the trash. I don't know what to do with all the damn pothos I have. Oddly, I planted some in a planter for my kitchen. I want to do like a upright display of pothos, like in a like sort of sculpted into like a tree. And I put two pieces in to start working on up onto the trellis I put in there for it. And one of the pieces has already sort of died and is looking like, wilted and limp, and all the leaves are, folding over. Like, how the hell did I kill a pothos plant in my damn kitchen? So I'll have to replace that. Maybe I can use one of those pieces I just cut to replace it. Bob. All right, let me see where I was. I was back here, there. All right, there it was. Oh, the melamine sponge. I got you, Zini. I didn't know I thought you were talking about my giraffe ankles. Oh, the orange discus are doing really well. Bob is here. Robert is here as well. Bob and Robert. Yeah, I was gonna say food magic works on a lot of people. I can do that. I can have an empty kitchen, and then I open a can of food, and I got cats everywhere. It's food magic. Oh, Zini wouldn't know how to act if he got real good Southern food, like Southern fried chicken, biscuits and gravy. Oh, Jesus Christ, biscuits and gravy. That would be almost worth coming here to America for, but not really. Sausage, biscuits, and gravy, though, is just, it's decadent. You can feel your arteries going clang when you eat it, and you're getting enough calories to last a lumberjack about 3 or 4 days. But oh my God, is it so good! It is creamy and savory and meaty and umami all at the same time. You got that nice creamy texture of the gravy. Then you got the biscuits in there. A little bit of sour on the biscuits with the sourdough. And then the little chunks of sausage all cooked up in there. Now I want some damn sausage, biscuits, and gravy. Tomorrow is my wife's birthday. Maybe we'll go to Bob Evans for breakfast, and you can get a birthday breakfast. I'll get sausage, biscuits, and gravy. Although I'm talking fancifully there, I would never eat a bowl of sausage, biscuits, and gravy. I'd have to work out for a week to burn off calories like that. There's no way I could eat a bowl of that. I'd feel so guilty. I'd rather just eat like half of birthday cake. And I did buy my wife a birthday cake today. It was very small, like a personal size birthday. Well, big enough that the both of us will be able to enjoy it for a few days, but it's not a full size birthday cake. No, it's not a big juicy sausage. It's bits of sausage all broken up and crumbled up, mixed in with the gravy. And when I say gravy, get the idea of like a brown, like it's not like a meaty gravy. It's like a creamy, like if you ever had like cream chip beef on toast or that kind of like creamy, sort of like it's more like that than it is like a gravy that you would put on a roast beef or something. Mashed potatoes, homemade gravy, hell yeah. A little barbecue. Some hush puppies for breakfast. Hush puppies are so good too. I am a northerner, so, well, I think of myself as a northerner. Maryland's not really the north or the south. If you go down south, they call us Yankees. If you go up north, they think of us as the southerners. But I consider myself a northerner rather than a southerner, and I prefer grits for breakfast if I was going to have them. But hush puppies are really good too. Well, I guess grits are a southern thing now that I'm thinking about it. What's the costly choosing your 125 and a medium-sized gray fish that keeps chasing the little fish? I'm not sure which ones you're talking about. I will convey your wishes, Laura. Yeah, more of a milk type based gravy rather than a broth type based gravy. Hey, Winston. The pleco is doing well enough in there. As far as the gray fish chasing the other fish, I'm not sure which one you're talking about. If you're talking about the little fish that are chasing each other around, those are some kind of minnow. I don't know what they are. They're a local fish that I caught. The big flat ones are silver dollars. I do have a couple of other fish in there that are cichlids. I have it's a geo, some sort of geophagus. It's pearl cichlid. That's sort of larger. I have the jewel cichlid that is kind of reddish. That wouldn't be more of a gray fish. That's kind of hiding over here. And then I have the larger cichlid on the end there, which is the spotted tilapia. So I'm not sure which fish you were talking about, but that's pretty much a rundown on all the fish that are in that tank. All right, we're going to do some vibra bites in this tank as well. Zini, did you ever get a chance to watch the Father Christmas video? Mad Cypress, how are you? Haven't seen you in a long time. You watched that in film history class? No shit. I remember when that movie came out. Hey, Eugene. It is. It's kind of funny when it came out. It was sort of like there was Close Encounters people, and then there was Star Wars people, and I was definitely a Star Wars person rather than the Close Encounters person. Close Encounters was all right. It just tried too hard to be artsy. I don't know. It seemed a little pretentious and whatnot. It's not a bad movie, but it's still not one that I particularly like. It's interesting that it would be in your film history class, though. I just saw a thing the other day that was spoofing on the oh god, I can't think of what it was now. It was some kind of music, was something. It might have been a dubstep joke, but it played the scene with the when they were trying to communicate with the aliens, and they were like the lights were lighting up, and they were playing all the tones and the sounds. But instead of obviously instead of the real sounds that you got from the music, they dubbed in whatever music was supposed to be, again, dubstep or whatever it was. And, that was supposed to be the universal language or something. It was actually pretty funny, but it did throw me back to the old Close Encounters. In fact, for those of you that know me well enough to know that when I use the term, it's got to mean something. And I'm always, I use that reference. I always say it's got to mean something. I'm usually doing that to sort of poke fun at the kind of people that find every little coincidence to be some sort of evidence of some sort of mystic, cosmic bullshit, whatever. It's got to mean something. Like, no, it fucking doesn't. It's just a coincidence. But so whenever I say that, it's got to mean something. Like, that's kind of what I'm going for when I say that. But where I get that is actually from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, when Richard Dreyfuss kept like making the fucking mountain out of mashed potatoes and shit, and like nobody knew what it was. It's like, it's got to mean something. It's got to mean something. And so that's actually where I get that, is from Close Encounters. So yes, I am familiar with Close Encounters. It's interesting that you're learning that in film class. So tell me more if you would like. Packing up a decent bowl. Nice busy summer. I have not had a busy summer. I've had a chilly summer. You know what? It has been so chilly this summer that we have not been really using our air conditioner. In fact, we have not used the air conditioner in almost a month now. There's been a few days where it's gotten a little warm, but we just stuck it out until the evening, and then it got cool again. And with the fan on, pulling the outside air in, we were fine. We got our electric bill yesterday, and my wife played the guess how much it was, and I was so far off. We went from an electric bill that roughly runs around $450 a month or something like that. It was $215. We saved over $200 fucking dollars in a month just by not running the air conditioner. So we needed that because that was basically like getting an extra $200 this month, and we can use that to pay other bills because we're fucking dying on bills. But that blew me away that running that air conditioner costs that much money. So I'm definitely going to rethink how much I run that. Just the other night, I was talking about using my heat pump to keep the house warm over the winter rather than burning the fuel or whatever. So I'm definitely going to be rethinking electrical costs versus diesel fuel and et cetera. So I can't believe that we saved that much money just from not running the damn heat pump unit or the AC unit over the month. All right. Oh, I like the duckweed on it too. It's just once it gets out of control, I gotta do something about it. No, I don't have any pea puffers. I've had some in the past, but I haven't had any in a long time. Car said 102 today. Damn. We have been barely getting into the mid 70s during the day, and we've been getting down into the 40s at night. So and then I just saw a thing today where you can expect another big cold weather system to push down from the north. It's going to be like a big Arctic swell is going to come down. And so basically for the rest of the month of September, we can basically expect just more cold weather. They said by the end of the month, we're going to be up to 20 degrees below average for this time of year. So that sucks. My summer's pretty much done. My summer was over at the end of July. It got chilly moving into August, chilly by my standards. And it hasn't warmed up, and apparently it's not going to. We're just going to go right on into the autumn weather. We'll probably get an Indian summer, as they call it, in October. There'll be a swell where we'll get a week of really nice warm weather or something like that, and I'll be able to get out on the boat some more. We'll be able to get out there for some changing colors and that sort of thing. Hopefully maybe me and Steve will be able to get out there this weekend for a little while. But as far as it being like nice warm summer weather, to me, if it's not 80 degrees, it ain't summer weather. It's got to be at least 80 degrees or it doesn't feel like fucking summer to me. And the low 70s or upper 60s definitely does not feel like summer to me. My lone angels lay eggs all the time. I've always had that happen, Mel. Yeah, Flo lays eggs. I've had lone Corys. I've had female Corys lay eggs in there by themselves. Still hot when you get out of the hills. I don't live in the hills. I live in the woods, but I don't live in the hills. Maybe in the foothills, the edge of the foothills of the hills. Oh, that sounds cool, Winston. I know there are different types of duckweed. And when I talk about me having that giant duckweed, I really do think that is giant duckweed. It's a different kind of duckweed than the other duckweed. And I honestly don't know if I still even have any of that, if it's still growing in here. It seems like most of that's gone now. And I'm down to just regular old little tiny duckweed. Yeah. Maybe we'll scoop some of that out tonight and feed it to the goldfish. Your banana trees are pissed. Is it too hot for them? Yeah, well, of course it's over 80. You're down in Florida, Bob. I'm up in Maryland. Oh, duckweed? You can get duckweed anywhere. Just go out to any local pond or lake or whatever, and you'll probably find duckweed growing somewhere. If not, you can go to any, in the summertime, you can go to any store that has like outdoor pond stuff. If they've got pond plants and pond fish and water feature stuff, like an outdoors type environment, you can probably get it at, um, I don't know. There's like landscaping places. I can't think of the name, like nurseries and whatnot that will sell pond fish in the summer. You'll maybe find some koi there or goldfish. Maybe you'll see a few tubs that they're growing some, water lettuce and a few other things. Like places like that will almost always have some duckweed. They probably won't even charge you for it if you just ask them if you can have some duckweed. They'll probably raise their eyebrows and say, "Are you sure?" Like every time I've ever asked somebody for duckweed, they've said, "Are you sure? You know what you're getting, right?" And okay. They got too cold one night. Now they're back up. Well, you're out in the middle of the country and you're getting different weather than me. I get that weird push that comes down from Canada. If you look at the way the jet stream wobbles, that always comes down over the Great Lakes and like through the Ohio Valley and like dips down through Maryland and into Northern Virginia. And that's what hits me. So it pushes all that warmer air down into Southern Virginia and out off the coast. So a lot of times what you're getting in the Midwest and you say I'll be getting in a few days. Sometimes I get it in a few days, but a lot of times it just goes east and just keeps going east and south and goes below me while that northern jet stream comes down and pushes that Canadian air or that cooler Arctic and Canadian air down, and I have much different temperatures than on the other side of that line. Salvinia Calcutta. I wonder where that comes from. I would say not to do a fancy goldfish with the Hillstream Loach for one reason and one reason only, and that is the Hillstream Loach likes fast moving water. The highly oxygenated water is fine for the goldfish, and the cooler water is also fine for the goldfish. But goldfish need calmer water. You don't want to put a goldfish in fast moving water, and you don't want to put a Hillstream Loach in low current water. The very first power heads I ever bought, I bought for my 55 Gourami tank because I had Hillstream Loaches in that, and I bought it specifically to increase the current and the water flow within the tank, trying to keep those Hillstream Loaches alive because I had a lot of trouble with them until I eventually gave up because I wasn't able to keep them alive except for one. The last batch of them I bought 8, and within the first few months 7 of them were gone, but one of them survived and it lived in the tank for quite a long time. It died a year or two ago, but I had it for probably 8 or 9 years before it died. And it was the only one that survived out of that last group. But I tried a bunch of Hillstream Loaches early on because I really liked them a lot. I could never get them to really take in that tank. I kept the tank unheated. It's still unheated to this day. It doesn't have a heater in that tank. It's still got the power heads on it. And so I don't know about the whether you'd be able to keep the Hillstream Loaches or not. But I think that the conditions for a Hillstream Loach just aren't conducive to being able to keep goldfish in there very well. That would be my thoughts on that. That red-tail loach, if you're asking about the red-tail loach in my 55 that we're going to be looking at here in about a half a second, I'm going to say it's about 7 to 8 inches long. I really don't know because I only ever see its tail, as you can see right there. It occasionally will dart out and dash around the tank real quick and snatch up some food and disappear again. When it does that, it does it so quickly. I don't really get a good scale measurement kind of thing. It's hard to say exactly, but if I had to guesstimate, I would say around 7 inches. It's pretty chunky. All right, let's do another little bong hit here. I think in a minute I'm going to go get my hash oil. I'm going to do a dab, but for the moment we're going to do another bong hit. Oh, and I did find out for certain that the place that I've been buying the mushroom chocolate and the mushroom juice from is pronounced Tree House, not Trey House. It's TRE House, but there's a line over the E, so I always assumed that meant it was a long E, Tree House. And I actually had to call them the other day I'm missing a chocolate bar. It hasn't shown up in the mail yet. And I was calling to find out, like, are they going to like replace it if it doesn't show up, sort of thing. And I did speak with them. And when they answered the phone, or actually they called me back. And when I answered the phone, she said, this is a representative from the treehouse calling. And so she herself called it the treehouse. So it's settled. It is indeed the treehouse. And we're going to wait till Monday. If my chocolate bar doesn't show up by Monday, they're going to send me a new one. But I did order another one just to get the ball rolling. So hopefully by Monday or Tuesday, I'll be getting that one. So whether my lost in the mail one shows up or not, hopefully early next week, I'll have another one of those chocolate bars because they were good. Has Neem been cursed by Shirley? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Zany. Red-tail loach is kind of aggressive. He's not really aggressive because he spends most of his time, he's more reclusive than aggressive. He spends most of his time hiding. But when he does come out, he's kind of a dick. He just sort of pushes everybody around and eats and then goes back to hiding. He does sort of jostle position a little bit with the catfish there, the striped Raphael, but that striped Raphael is big and has spikes and poison. And actually, the Raphaels do not have poison. I always thought they did, but they don't. They're one of the few catfish that don't have toxins on their spines. But they are spiky and spiny and big and beefy. And so, that loach came out. Let's see if it dashes around the tank. Or is it just going to dash right back in again? It came out of its cave. I saw it swim off to the left. Oh, nope, it just came back. Every once in a blue moon, it'll come out and swim around in the front of the tank for a brief moment. Oh, it left its hiding spot again. Let's see if it comes around. I'm going to stay over here this time. Nope, it's back. Oh, well. Oh, I got you, Zini. She cursed the mail. No, I know who cursed the mail, but we don't need to talk about that now. All right, I am caught up once again. I don't know about the sumo loaches. Most loaches are not aggressive. In fact, most loaches are gregarious. They kind of need company of, if not their own species, a similar species that they can swim around with. I thought that when I got the red tail loach, only to find out after I bought it, it was an impulse purchase because I thought it was so cool looking. I found out later that it's kind of aggressive and it's sort of a loner and doesn't want to be around other loaches and that sort of thing. So oopsies on that one. I was told that the skunk loaches, like nobody ever told me they were sort of supposed to be aggressive and not really a good group fish. And I had a large group of skunk loaches in there for a long time, and they all did great. They got along with everybody. I still have a skunk loach in there uh, to this day. If well, it was getting ready to come out. If you look at that cave right here, where's my finger? If you look right here, you see that little nose sticking out? That is a skunk loach. And that is the only one I have left out of the whole group of skunk loaches that I used to have. And they were awesome. I really liked my skunk loaches. I recommended them to a lot of people. I recommended getting a group of them. And only years after doing that did somebody else tell me, I thought they were supposed to be aggressive. And I looked it up, and sure enough, when you look it up, it says that skunk loaches are aggressive. And so I stopped recommending people keep them in groups, but my personal experience was I loved them. I thought they did great in the community tank. I thought they did great in a group. I never experienced any more aggression out of them than I did any other of my loaches. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that, but I loved my skunk loaches. So most loaches are a gregarious fish. You want them in groups, but there are a few that you definitely want to not have in a group. So do your research on the loaches before you buy them. Generally speaking, though, you're probably going to be okay if you do an impulse purchase and you get a group of loaches. All right, let me see where I was. My yo-yo loaches have been just like all my others. I don't really have any problem with them. I've thought about arowana. I've thought about how I couldn't possibly keep an arowana, but I do like them a lot. Butterfly fish, I had one for many years, and it was really cool, but it's probably not one I would buy again, simply because it's. I was just looking at my angelfish that we're going to be looking at in the next tank for a minute, and I thought she was actually laying eggs, but she's not. Mel was just asking me a minute ago if my angel ever laid eggs by herself, and I thought she was in there doing it right now. But the angelfish we're going to be looking at, not the one you're looking at now, but the one we're going to be looking at in a moment, often lays eggs all by herself. Kind of makes me a little bit sad, but not really. So the butterfly fish is one that I enjoyed having when I had it. I fed it live crickets for most of its life. I had it for several years, maybe 3 years. And I got tired of the cricket thing and decided I was going to get it weaned over onto floating pellets, which I did successfully after not too long. It took a couple of weeks, maybe. I would have to start throwing the pellets in with the crickets and maybe getting it to like bite a cricket and a pellet at the same time. And eventually I could start just doing the pellets. And if it, refused to eat the pellets, I could eventually put a cricket in. And sooner or later sort of started to get the idea that the pellets were also food. And so I got it weaned onto the floating cichlid pellets. Of course, it's not a cichlid, and I don't know, I'm not sure what the problem was, but within about 2 or 3 months of getting it weaned off of live crickets and over onto the floating cichlid pellets, it died. So it may have died of old age. I came in, I noticed one day it was listing, it wasn't laying flat on the surface. Like both of its wings were flat out across the surface like it normally is. It was definitely listing. It was leaning over like at a 30-degree angle. And like one fin was pointing down in the water and the other one was just kind of laying limp across the surface. And slowly over the next few days, it sort of rolled onto its side and got a little bit sort of bloated in the belly. And then I came down one morning and it was dead. So I don't know if it was the food that killed it. I don't know if it was old age. I would imagine it probably was not old age. I don't think it could have been older than maybe 3 years old, probably on the outsidest at that time. Um, so I don't know. I don't know, but it definitely was didn't last long after I switched it over from one food to the next. So anyway, the point is it was an interesting fish, but it was also kind of a boring fish, and it was a difficult to watch fish. This tank that we are going to be looking at right now is the tank that it was in. And as you can see, there's a top on that tank. And when you've got a fish that literally floats on the surface of this tank and you're as tall as me, which is about this tall, where my eyeballs are, you can't see shit floating on the surface of that tank. So if I wanted to see the butterfly fish, I had to either sit in a very low stool and crank my neck around and look up into the tank, which gave me the view like that. And so that's how I had to look at the butterfly fish when it was in there, or I had to take the lid off. And that fish was so flighty that even when I was feeding it, I was reluctant to open that lid. I would drop the food through the little feeding hole there without actually taking the lid off, because I was always afraid that that butterfly fish was just going to come right up and out of the tank. So interesting fish. I'm glad I got the experience. I enjoyed it while I had it, but probably will not be getting another one for those reasons. So in this tank, all we have is the angelfish. We got a couple of tetras. We have one Buenos Aires. No, I'm sorry, red blue Colombian tetra. We have one black skirt tetra. And then we have 5 striated bodia on the bottom. And you might see a few of those dashing around here in a moment or two. But that is all that is in this fish, although it looks like there's a tiny discus in there right now, but that's just a reflection from the tank next to it. Pay no attention to that discus in the corner. Yeah, the carnivorous pellets probably would have been a better, or some sort of insectivore type pellets or something. Yeah, it's some plecos in a 20-gallon will be way too big. That's all right, Laura. Arknight, there you are. Oh, I wish they had butterfly flavor. I mean, bacon fly flavor. In fact, just bacon flavor. I don't even need the fly. It eats flakes. Interesting. Betta pellets. Yeah, it looks like a little tiny sized discus, doesn't it? No, we already did the tank maintenance I was going to do for the evening. And speaking of flakes, I am going to throw a few crisps in this tank because I fed it the Vibra bites and they sink pretty quickly. And I just want to make sure I throw some stuff in there that floats a little more. And that way the angelfish will definitely get some food. In fact, while you're watching that tank for a moment, I am going to run in the other room. So give me a moment. I'm going to put you on mute. All right, and I'm back. All right, we're going to take a few of these Vibra-Bites, and I'm going to feed the shrimp tanks while you're not looking, because I always feed them where you're not looking. And I'm going to feed my actual shrimp tank. I have one tank that's my shrimp tank that's actually got like decor and stuff in it, and it's meant to be a attractive tank. Unfortunately, the water went cloudy like forever ago, and it's never not been cloudy ever since. But I've also thrown shrimp in several other tanks, and two of them have shrimp galore in them at this point. And so I almost have to think about them as shrimp tanks too, even though they're not technically shrimp tanks. I think nearite snails would be fine with the fancy goldfish, and I honestly don't see a reason why a bristlenose pleco wouldn't be okay with fancy goldfish either. Hey, Cornish, how are you this evening? I don't know. I can't imagine if I put a nearite snail in with my goldfish that they would bother the goldfish. It's possible they might. Um, Let me go have a look at the tank and see if there's any ram's horn snails or anything like that crawling around in there. Because I've thrown a bunch of snails in there over the years. Well, now that I'm looking, I don't see any ram's horn snails crawling around anywhere on top of anything, and there doesn't look like any clean spots where any snails would have, you know, like cleaned off areas where snails would have done their work. Well, there's a few little spots there, but not much considering all the amount of snails. So maybe maybe I've not really been paying attention, and those goldfish are eating the hell out of those ram's horn snails. I feel like I'm finally starting to really feel the effects of my mushroom juice that I drank tonight. I was in a bad mood this evening, so about half an hour before we went live, I took a small swig of my mushroom juice. Not enough to be, you know, having a hard time with the live stream, but at the same time, it's something to make me in a little better mood than I was in. And I've been wondering if I was actually going to really start feeling it, and I am starting to really, I've been feeling it for a while, but a very, very low grade sensation. But I feel like I'm finally starting to get the full effects of it now. Yeah. Still need to talk to them about doing a sponsorship and seeing if I can get them to send me some free products. I know they have a thing you can click on their website that says free samples. I thought about clicking on that, but I'm thinking I don't know if they'd give me any free samples considering I already buy so much of their products in the first place. Loaches will eat a lot of stuff. They're not really algae eaters, although the hillstream loach is not really a loach, but it gets called a loach, and those are algae eaters. But true loaches are not really algae eaters. They'll eat snails and little microcrustaceans. It's always good to have a loach in a tank that's well established. But of course, they also eat algae wafers and they eat sinking pellets, flake food that gets to the bottom. Pretty much anything on the bottom that is a fish food sort of thing, loaches will eat. They're similar to catfish in that way, but they're not really algae eaters. I do have some black racers, or I had some black racers. I don't know if I still do or not. And I've had the multicolors with the swirls, but I don't remember seeing any zigzag lightning bolts. Oh, if you look at the, it's more subtle because they're at the far end of the room, and the honestly the light from my pond gets in the way. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but if you look at it, that light from the pond is right there, and it blocks the light from hitting the silver dollars over there, all the way at the far end of the room. But if they're at the end of the tank over here, or they're down here further, you can actually see the light flashing off the silver dollars, and you really get a really vivid color flash off of them because of the way they're all, they're basically like little silver mirrors. So, sorry, I just turned your screw the wrong way and you got wobbly neck. There you go. So this is a pretty good one too. This one's fairly shiny, but the silver dollars are just awesome. They ate the nearite snails. Damn, there must have been some big goldfish. Nice, Cornish. I've ordered more, but I'm down to one bottle of my juice, and I'm trying to decide what to do with it. Have it tonight, tomorrow, or try to save it for Sunday when Steve and I go out. But I really don't think it's going to be likely I'm going to have enough for 2 people come Sunday. I barely have enough to get through tomorrow night anyway. I really got to stop drinking that mushroom juice so much, but I really like it a lot. I've never done a time lapse video for an hour, but I have just let the camera roll on the tank for an hour. And I've shot videos like that back in the past when I was groping around for different types of ideas for videos to shoot to see whether people wanted to watch them or not. I've thought about doing live streams where I just set the camera up and just let it go live, and then people can just watch the aquarium and then, check in during the day and see what's going on. And I wouldn't even necessarily have to be in here. You could just watch the fish tank. I've never done that though. No, I'm not worried about the juice getting warm. The chocolate bar, when they ship the chocolate bars, they send them in a little bubble wrap pouch so it's insulated, and they put a freezer pack or like a refrigerator pack in there with them. But every time I've gotten one, it's always just like it's completely warmed up to whatever the temperature outside is. But I've never gotten the candy bar in bad shape. They've always showed up nice and candy bar shaped, and none of them had appeared to melt or anything. So if the one that shows up that's been lost in the mail shows up, God knows what condition that's going to be in, because it's coming out of Plano, Texas. And just because I'm having cool weather don't mean they're having cool weather in Texas. So I don't know what to expect if that other one does show up. Although honestly, at this point, I'm not expecting it to show up. I'm hoping it shows up. I'm just not expecting it to show up. My favorite though is the juice. I really like the mushroom juice a lot, or high potency syrup is what they call it. And again, I don't know what they make it out of, but I like it. All right. Speaking of it, I'm going to do another bone hit. Hit it. All right, I got 2 little bone hits left out of the bud I brought in with me. That's kind of surprising. I thought that was going to last longer. I've actually been rolling joints for my little mushroom experiences at night because I'm still craving a cigarette. So I've been eating the nicotine gum to get the nicotine craving off, but I just keep having visions of me smoking a cigarette in my mind. It's fucking weird. And so to sort of appease the oral fixation aspect of it, I've been smoking joints. So it's been kind of fun. It's been a long time since I've been smoking joints. I smoked one the other night. I smoked the entire joint all the way, like the roach and everything was gone when I was done with it. My God, that was a challenge. It was a fat joint. At least it was fat enough that I rolled it in my rolling machine. So it was only a certain diameter, but it was packed really tight. It was almost too much weed. I could almost not really hit through it. So, like I said, it was a challenge to get through that whole thing. I was fucking ripped by the time I was done it. I actually have one in the other room right now. Maybe I'll smoke a joint when we sit down, or maybe I'll save it for later. Maybe Sunday night we'll do some tank maintenance and we'll get in here, see all this crud on the bottom again. I need to just get in there and do a vacuum. The can tell you the last time I did a filter change on that thing. It's been over a year. I know that. It's been longer than, well, honestly, it's been 15 months since I've done, it's been almost a year and a half since I've done a filter change on this tank. It's a Sun canister filter. And it's been the same amount of time since I've done one on this filter here. So almost a year and a half since I've changed the filter. It doesn't pick up a lot of stuff off the bottom anymore. It never really did, honestly, but it doesn't pick up a lot of stuff off the bottom. So the crud and the detritus and all that kind of stuff tends to build up. It's not harming anything, but it looks like crap. And if you let it build up too much, eventually it can start, being problematic with bacterial loads and stuff. So you don't want to let too much crud build up in the tank, even if it's not really affecting your water quality initially. Eventually it can begin to affect your water quality in certain ways, like overfeeding the shit out of the tank like I did tonight, apparently. Anyway, let's move on to the betta fish tank here, Gilgalad. You can see him lying on the, luxuriating on the Java moss down there. Whoop, he knows what's up. It's your nummy time. Come and get it. And if we wait a little while, I'm going to put a fair amount of the vibrobites in here. So I'll leave a few floating on the surface, and then the rest will sink to the bottom. And I know that looks a lot for those 3 fish, but if we look back in half an hour from now, there's going to be a little army of shrimp down there in the corner eating those vibrobites. Nice. Yeah, it's definitely the mushrooms have something to do with the nicotine craving. I don't know what. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Remember, human beings, like our brains and basically our whole entire bodies, we're nothing more than bags of fucking water. And we're just a bunch of electrochemical signals and whatnot. And so when you start messing with our brain chemicals, whether it's, self-medicating or whatever, it changes different stuff. And so, for example, when I used to drink and I struggled with alcohol for years, and not going into detail or anything about it, but I was a heavy drinker, very heavy drinker. And whenever I would get off the alcohol, I would start drinking coffee and I would start craving caffeine. And I'd be a coffee drinker like I am now. I'd drink coffee all day long. The moment I would relapse and I would start drinking alcohol again, like a fucking switch, I would just stop with the caffeine, and the alcohol was what I was getting out of it. And so who knows when I'm, doing mushrooms, because when I did real mushrooms, the actual psilocybin mushrooms, I had the same effect. I had that same sort of craving for nicotine again, and cigarettes. So this mushroom stuff is a very different kind of mushroom stuff. It's not psilocybin, but I still get that sort of nicotine craving. And again, it's not cigarettes per se. When I hang out with Steve, he vapes. He has a nicotine vape, and not even every time I hang out with him, but occasionally when I'm hanging out with him, a couple times throughout the day, I'll bum a puff or two off of his vape, and it's great. It feels awesome. I get this nice head rush. I get this great buzz and everything. So I totally understand why people want to do that. Oh, check this out. Look at that shrimp hanging out in the current, staying up near the surface of the water. This one's almost completely red. I have other ones that are really vibrant orange, and then I have other ones that are like the creamsicle color. But this is a really red one in there now. I'm digging him. I have 2 or 3 of them in here that are really red like that. But whatever it is, I don't know. I have no idea why. I don't ever think about nicotine or cigarettes or whatever for the most part until I get that shroom juice stuff going. And then suddenly at some point in the evening, I'll just start having visions of cigarettes going through my mind. And I'll chew a piece of nicotine gum and it mostly goes away. But I'm still enjoying smoking those joints. All right, where was I now? There I was. I don't know what you're asking. I guess the message was retracted. All right, Cornish. You enjoy the rest of your evening. I have no idea what you guys are talking about with the swear words and stuff, so I'll just let you get on with that. All right, well, I was going to show Cornish my little measuring device, but he's gone, so I won't. But I don't use a measuring cup. I actually just saved one of the mushroom juice bottles, and I marked it at a 1/4 marking on the bottom. And so what I do is I just take my new bottle and I pour it into that one, and then I can measure based on, do I want to do 1/4 of a bottle, 1/3 of a bottle, or whatever, and I measure it based on that little measuring line. All right, let us moveth on to the final boss tank of the evening. All right, so this is the one I did a water change and I wiped the glass down, and I did use the deadly poisonous Windex and I wiped the outside of the glass down. And so hopefully tomorrow it'll be looking pretty good. I'm still debating whether I'm even going to bother with shooting videos to try to revamp the channel or keep the channel alive. At this point, it's so little money coming in. I realized yesterday I was talking to my wife, and what I used to do, I got it set up so that the car payment goes through on the 24th, and it's for $400. And my YouTube payment always comes in on the 21st. And so I always, that would give it a couple days to clear for the bank, and then the money would be there for the car payment. And so what I would do is I would just let the YouTube money show up, and then the car payment would go through. And then on the 28th, my Amazon payment is due. And so whatever was left over from the car payment, I would just use that YouTube money to pay Amazon as well. And then it got to the point where it was just covering the car payment, and I was having to find other money to pay the Amazon payment. And I realized last month I stopped even thinking about YouTube as far as the payment, and I'm just making sure there's $400 in the bank by the 24th from other sources so that the car payment goes through, because I'm just not even counting on YouTube as a source of income anymore. Like I've just stopped thinking about it as a source of income at this point. So, if I do get $200 or something, that's great, but I don't count on it being there anymore. I make sure that money's there from other places. So I don't know how much effort I feel like putting into trying to revamp it just to maybe scrape another $100 a month out of it or something like that. If I do, the first thing I will be doing will be shooting a video of this tank, and basically going to deliberately be an antagonistic type video, basically telling discus keepers to piss off, or more actually telling fish keepers that are thinking about getting discus to stop listening to discus keepers and just go ahead and get them because they're easy to keep. And these people are lying to you, when they tell you that discus need all these special requirements and all that kind of shit, and just deliberately put a video out there that just really pisses off the discus keepers. Because hate views are views, and at this point, I really don't give a fuck what kind of people. I don't read my comments anymore, so let them put all their hate comments they want, because I don't read my comments anymore. And so as long as I'm getting those views coming in, that'll be a few dollars a month or something. So that's if I worry about it. I don't know, but if I do, the tank's nice and clean, and I'm ready to sit down in front of it and shoot my video. Yeah, I saw your comment there, Winston. I was wondering, is Gary a ram's horn? He certainly looks like it now that you mention it, but he also could be a giant pond snail. But we're also forgetting that he lives in salt water, so. I don't know if those guppies are still spitting out babies or not, but they might be, Laura. It is permeable Windex. I don't know what you're talking about with the swear words there, Dave. That was a conversation you guys were having with somebody else or whatever. I have no idea what you're talking about. Mud skipper tank. Yeah, I'm definitely not doing a mud skipper tank just for the sake of YouTube. All right. Harryman, how are you doing? I was going to say, if you have snails, do you have really soft water with a low pH? Because that's not good for snails at all. It dissolves their shells, and their shells are a very important part of their body. If their shells aren't functioning properly, and you're starting to see pitting and holes and stuff like that develop in them, and I've seen that myself on my own snails over the years from my soft water. This is how I learned all this. They don't last long. I think I will save that joint for later, but I am going to do a dab. I got a little bit of hash oil here. We're going to puff on that. All right. Well, it's 9:15 already, too. Quaz, how are you doing? Yeah, crushed coral in there will definitely help, especially if you put in large amounts of it or large bags of it like that. Well, give the crushed coral a chance. You don't have to make the water hard necessarily, and you don't have to get it, your pH up around, 7.8 or anything like that. But if you can get your pH above acidic, get it to neutral at least, or maybe 7.5, 7.3. If you can get it in that neighborhood, that will do your snails a world of good. And then, of course, the mineralization in the water will be good for their snail shells, and make sure you give them plenty of calcium in their diet. Make sure whatever food they're getting is a high calcium source, and you should be good to go. So I wouldn't give up on them yet. Chris, how are you? All right, I am about to come around there and sit myself down. So prepare yourselves, everyone. I got to close up my door for my filter. I did turn the filter back on, so that's up and running. I dried my stool of death over here. And I definitely feel now that I'm sitting down and relaxing for a moment, I definitely feel like I drank more of that mushroom juice than I think I did. I'll have to go get that bottle and check. But once I get that bottle, I'm going to take another swig of it. I keep feeling like it's Saturday night. I don't know why. It's not. All right. All right. All right. I am caught up once again. So remember, everybody, that the conversation will go where you want it to go. If you want me to chat about, water chemistry or fish keeping stuff, then, ask me questions about that. Or whatever. I don't know. If you don't, I'm going to talk about whatever. And it probably won't be fish keeping stuff. Oh, that's cool, Harry, man. Don't set your don't set your like the color changing or whatever. This is like little spots of light moving around the room. The fish barely even react to it. Even when I turn all the other lights off and only have the disco lights on, I've done it in the morning, like to try to like do the wake up by turning the lights on slowly and starting with the disco lights. The fish don't even react to it. But I have had the color changing lights in tanks before with the RGB, color shifting. And if you have it change fairly rapidly, I've seen multiple different species of fish. I've seen gouramis and I've seen tetras have what I can only describe as seizures, like literally on the bottom of the tank, like flicking around and looking really distressed with flashing lights. So if you do color changing lights in your tank, do it where it does that slow fade and gradually changes from one color to the next. Really try to avoid those flashing lights or rapid color changes that really, really distresses the fish, apparently. At least that's been my experience. So pay attention to that. If you don't have any problem and you got it all flashing away and the fish seem unbothered by it, go for it. Have a good time. But be mindful of that. If you do have it set up to, just keep an eye on the fish and make sure they're not being too stressed out by that. Yeah, the slow fade doesn't seem to phase them at all. They don't really seem to be bothered by that at all. Mud skipper tank. No, I'm definitely not doing a mud skipper tank. You could do a mud skipper tank, Zini. That would revamp your channel. I don't think if I got more drugs, I'd want to do a mud skipper tank. I don't think there's a one-to-one correlation. So one of the things they do with this stuff that annoys me is they put the label, it wraps all the way around. There's no way you can see into the bottle. Even that looks like it'd be the seam. It's not. You cannot see the amount of liquid that's in the bottle there. So you just kind of guess how much you've got. So keeping the spare bottle with the little line marked on it so I can pour it out of this into that is good. But tonight I've just taken a few swigs out of this and now I'm not really sure how much I've got left. It feels like it's about right there, but I'm going to pull the label off so we can actually have a look at it. And it sucks when the label comes off, it leaves the glue mostly on the bottle, so it's going to be really sticky unless I wash it off with acetone. Oh, actually, a lot of the glue came off on the stuff this time, so we can take the label. That's the Galaxy grape. That's the good stuff there. stick that to itself so it doesn't get stuck on anything else. Oh, I got more in there than I realized. It's all the way up to there. All right, where's my other little bottle? Where is my other little bottle? Here, little bottle. Oh, there it is. It's hiding behind my nicotine gum. So this is what I do. I've got an empty that I got a line marked on here somewhere. I don't even know where it is now. Did I throw the wrong bottle away and keep the wrong empty? Well, there's a line marked here. That's the halfway point. I know that. So I thought I had a line somewhere on the quarter mark too, but I must not. Man, this must be some good mushroom juice because I don't even remember where I got it marked. Let me look at this closer. Maybe I should put my glasses on. Yeah, I definitely have a mark at the halfway point, roughly. Interesting. I could have sworn I had it at the quarter mark. Oh, well. That's what you get for drinking too much mushroom juice. That stuff is thick. The other thing I do when I pour it in that bottle is I put a bunch of water in with it too, and then I drink it. It goes down a lot easier. It's got a delicious flavor, but boy, is it thick. It's just like drinking king syrup. That's what I'm saving for later. That's all I got left of the one I was smoking this evening. See if I can get a couple more hits off of it. You see how I'm lighting this roach? I'm just putting the flame on it and getting it burning again. We've all seen people light roaches like that. That's how you basically have to light them. I saw someone the other day lighting a joint, and that's how they were lighting it. They were just holding the joint and just putting the flame on the end of the joint and just holding it there until it was burning. And it struck me as odd. My assumption has always been that you light it by putting, because it's too small, you can't light it like you would light a cigarette. But when it's a whole joint, you put it in your mouth and you just light it like a cigarette and puff on it and get it going. Like, why would you just hold a joint and just get the end of it glowing very slowly with a lighter before you started hitting on it? You do that with a roach just because it's too short to do it up against your face. I don't know. Getting pretty small. I'm going to call it good there. Maybe one more. Watch this. See that brown? That's what I just wiped off my lips. That's the res that comes off the end of that fucking roach. Imagine what's going down into my lungs. All right, let me get caught up on some comments here. Let's see. You know you would be. That's all you'd appreciate America for. Drugs. I don't know who Jeff Pelham is. I don't get involved in that stuff. Let me see. You like that quote, Bob? Yeah, Zini. That's not Zini. Eugene. I don't know if it's technically called a screaming eagle, but back in the day, they used to call that a screaming eagle when you have a roach in your fingers and it would get so small and hot you couldn't really hold on to it anymore. You just let go of it and suck it in, and it would just go into your mouth and either go out on the back of your throat or go out on your tongue or something like that. But that was called a screaming eagle when you actually just let go of the roach and just suck the whole thing in when it was blazing hot and too hot to hold in your fingers anymore. I need to get into my terrarium here. If you'll remember yesterday or whenever the hell it was, the other day, I showed you all my dragon's tongue here, and it was growing towards the light, as you can see it sort of is now. And I rotated it, and I said, watch in a day or two, it'll all be growing towards the light again, and look at what it's doing. This stuff just is beastly. It grows so fast. I'm going to trim it down again here pretty soon, and throw a bunch of it in the goldfish tank because right here in the goldfish ponds, they really love it. They ate the shit out of it last time I threw it in there. So we can rotate it again. And then my terrarium here, I haven't done anything with. I haven't really even thought about this, honestly. It's just kind of became part of the furniture. So that dragon's tongue, you can see, is really growing all up against the glass and out of control in there. So I need to get in and trim that dragon's tongue again. But as Laura pointed out last time, getting in there and trimming it just makes it grow even faster and thicker. So maybe that dragon's tongue is not the best plant to have in a small, compact environment like this. I really love this sort of whatever this is. It looks like tiny, tiny little miniaturized ivy. It's really cool. I like that a lot. And then I've got that bromelade in there, which is pretty cool too. I like that. The orchid is still doing okay, but has not yet shown any more signs of flowering. That's the plant right here is the orchid. And then you can see it's also got, if I can get the camera in the right position, it's also got a couple more leaves down here in the bottom. There you go. Now you can see them. So those are those orchid leaves as well. So I got a ton of stuff going on in here that I need to probably work on. And over there could probably use a little bit of maintenance and trim as well. And I definitely need to do something with this beastly bush. It's covering the whole entire corner over there. What I really need to do is just stand it more upright. Just get the whole thing more like that. But you can see the root mass on the bottom. And the way I've got it in here, it just hangs there. I guess that's okay. We could leave it like that. That opens it up more to the, into the tank. And we do have another flower bract opening up on that. It's getting there. Yeah. All right, where was I? There it was. 450 plants. Good grief. My wife got given 3 different houseplants today that we're not sure what they are or how to care for them yet. But they were her birthday gifts from her coworkers today, so that was very kind of them. Oh, nice, Dade. I had the Blackmores briefly a long time ago. I liked them, but I wasn't really into goldfish back then, so I got rid of them. But I wouldn't mind having some more Blackmores. Oh, it is ivy. Good. That's cool. I thought it was string of frogs. I like that too. Yeah, I definitely need to get in there and clean that glass off. It looks hideous. But the ivy that we just were looking at and talking about is actually growing onto the glass. Like it has roots and everything. So getting in there and cleaning it's going to require an almost like a revamp on the entire thing. Oh, let's have an update on my bag of mycelium too. I just redid that the other day, and I want to see how far along that's come. It should be getting pretty close to ready to start flowering. I'm thinking maybe another week and we should be ready to start flowering. So you can see it's white almost completely all the way through. Oh, that is mycelium growing in there. So you can still see a little bit of darkness from the substrate, but pretty much it's through and through. It's completely saturated. So once it gets a little bit more white and you don't see quite so much brown through there, again, maybe another few days, I'm going to start the flowering process and we're going to see what kind of, these are going to be real psilocybin, actual mushrooms, golden teacher. So I'm pretty excited about this. I still find it fascinating that growing mushrooms is so much easier than growing weed, and it costs almost nothing as far as like electrical costs and plant food and making your own substrate. And there's a lot of costs associated with growing my own weed. The mushrooms, you basically need a box to put it in so it stays in darkness. And after a month or so, you'll have to open it up, and you'll need like a passive light, basically just open the box somewhere, a little bit of maintenance where you have to spritz it with water to keep it moist. And that's only for like the last 2 weeks while it flowers. And then boom, you got mushrooms. So I never imagined mushrooms would be easier than weed. That just seems weird to me. Let's see. We all like Bob. Moist indeed. It does look like a bunch of little frogs. All right, Dave, you have a good evening. And we are going to be winding down here pretty shortly ourselves. So again, I don't know what my wife got, but she got some kind of house plants. I'm going to check a message here real quick. All right. All right. Okay. I'm back. All right, Chris, you have a good night. I'm not going to be here much longer. I'm going to be winding down. We were talking about the string of frogs, Eugene, which is this ivy that I have in the terrarium here. If you actually look at the individual leaves, they kind of look like little squat frogs. And so apparently one of the common names for that is string of frogs, which I think is pretty cool. But I love the tiny, tiny leaf ivy like that. I like ivy anyway. My wife hates it, but I like it. We have English ivy outside, which is kind of problematic. It's really kind of nuisance, but I do like the way it looks. Makes for great ground cover. Now you guys are loose again. I'm going to need you to screw you in. Actually, I'm not going to worry about it right now because you're not going to be here long enough to need it. So tiny little ivy like that, like the dwarf ivy, miniaturized ivy, I think is neat. Can't wait for the golden experience. I don't know how many jobs I have. It depends on what you want to define as a job. I don't even think of myself as having a job. I think of myself as more living in the hustle culture. I do whatever. I get money from various places. None of them are steady or reliable. I guess my most reliable and steady source of income is my deer repellent business, but even that's getting sketchy. I need to get out there and pick up some new customers. I just hate doing that. And the deer, the deer pressure, the damage, it's just getting so bad that my repellent's only so effective. What I really need to do is start finding areas that aren't under assault the way the areas, basically if you're not getting damage that's really bad, you're probably not going to call me because I'm not cheap. And you got to have money and you got to really want your landscape and garden plants and everything to stay nice. And so you got to be willing to spend money for that. So people that are only getting minor damage aren't going to pay that kind of money to have me come and spray because it's only minor damage. The problem is if I go to somebody that's got major damage with, like the people like, help, we're desperate, we need to get you in here. I only have limited success. If the deer are already that hungry, my deer repellent it's not poisonous or anything. It just tastes terrible. So the deer don't want to eat it. But if you're starving, you'll eat stuff that doesn't necessarily taste good because you're starving. And so it's kind of this shitty situation where the kind of neighborhoods where I'd have a lot of success, where there's some deer damage being done, if I started spraying those properties, it would push them out immediately and their gardens would look great. They're not the kind of people that hire me, though. The kind of people that hire me are the kind of people that are desperate. And by the time they're desperate, there's only so much I can do. And so I feel like I'm struggling to keep my damn deer repellent company afloat anymore. And I've been doing it for over 20 years now. Well, almost 20 years, I should say, 19 years this year. So, all right, everybody, let's do a couple of dabs as we wind the evening down. Oh, and I will do one quick fish tank maintenance related kind of thing. I've been thinking about this all evening, but it keeps slipping my mind. The flow coming into the pond is very diminished at the moment. So I need to get in there and clear out the intake pump. And a lot of what's in it is if you remember earlier, I was talking about how the fish love eating that dragon's tongue plant. Well, they eat they like leave the stem behind. They eat all the leaves and all the soft parts off of it and just leave the twiggy sticks behind. And they invariably make their way to this intake. I'm not sure why. It really feels like it's not flowing in as much as it should be. I got so much crud and junk in here. There we go. It's actually just backing up from the amount of crud that just naturally builds up in there. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's flowing much more freely at this point. All right. All right, everybody. I'm going to say last call. Doesn't seem like anybody's got anything on their minds anyway. So I'm going to wrap it up. And then we'll be back on Sunday night. Unless something changes. I don't see any reason why we won't be back on Sunday night at this point. All right. Let's do that dab. You pretty much emptied your what? I don't know what you emptied, Zini, other than yours. That's a party. Your mind, I've got you. All right. That was unnecessarily large. I'm going to call that a good on the dabs. I think we'll go ahead and put this away for now. All right. City inspector at your house for what now? Plants. All right, everybody. I'm going to call that the end of the stream here. Don't forget, like I said, every Friday and Sunday at 8 p.m. Yeah, we'll see if I'm here or not. Most of the time I will be, but no guarantee. But as far as I know, this Sunday I don't have anything going on that will prevent me from being here. Steve and I may be hanging out, so depending on the time of day, perhaps I may be running late. Maybe Steve will be a guest on the live stream for a little bit. Maybe we'll start a little early. So Steve can hang out for a little while before he's got to go and head back home or something. I don't know. We'll play it by ear. So subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit the notification button for what good that does. YouTube's pretty hit or miss with whether they give you the notifications or not. But if I do go live early or a surprise or something like that, then you likely will get a notification and you will be able to join in the show. So on that note, I'm going to say good night and thanks for watching. And again, don't forget to check back in on Sunday, and we'll see what's going on then. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching and good night.